The gun hasn't fired yet, and already this women's 200-meter final has everything. 8 of the fastest women in the world. Greece, France, Sweden, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Norway, Great Britain, Spain. One curve, one straight, one shot at gold. Who owns this track tonight? Lane 2, Poloniki Emanuelidou of Greece. She's the European under-23 bronze medalist, ran a personal best of 22.84 to get here. Lane 3, Helene Perissot of France. She qualified 5th with a personal best of 22.73, a big run just to reach this stage. Julia Henriksson of Sweden in Lane 4, the first Swede in this final in 46 years. She equaled the Swedish national record, 22.82, to get through the semis. Tassagia of the Netherlands, Lane 5, third fastest qualifier, season's best of 22.70. She's got real speed coming in. Lane 6, Muijinga Kambundji of Switzerland, the defending champion. The fastest woman ever entered in this field, personal best of 22.05 seconds. Henriette Jaeger of Norway in Lane 7. She's just 20 years old. The first Norwegian in this final in 78 years, fourth fastest qualifier at 22.71. Daryll Neita, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Lane 8. She's the fastest qualifier in this field at 22.51 seconds. She is the one to watch down that home straight. And Lane 9, Jael Bestouet of Spain, the 6th fastest qualifier, and she's ready to compete on the biggest stage of the European Championships. What a field. The Stadio Olimpico is loud, and it's only getting louder. A defending champion who's been here before and knows exactly what it takes to win. The fastest qualifier in the field, chasing gold from Lane 8. These 8 women have all earned the right to be on this track, and right now every single one of them believes she can take it. The bend is going to be everything tonight. Whoever comes off that curve with the lead and the energy to hold it has a real shot at gold. The blocks are set. The stadium holds its breath. Women's 200 meters final, Rome. They're off. Clean start across the board. Henriksson out hard in Lane 4, Neita moving well in 8. But it's Kambundji blazing around that bend in Lane 6. The Swiss champion driving hard and low. Neita is right there, charging down the straight. These two are dead even coming to the line. Photo finish. Too close to call. The scoreboard has it. Muijinga Kambundji 22.49 seconds, a season's best, and she is the European champion. Daryll Neita of Great Britain right behind at 22.50, equaling her own season's best. 1/100th of a second between gold and silver. Doesn't get any closer than that. And Helene Perissot of France grabs bronze with a lifetime best of 22.63. What a run from the French woman. Kambundji has defended her title. Watch this in slow motion. Gun reaction, clean across the field, but Kambundji is already engaged, already driving off those blocks with real aggression. She committed to that bend from the very first stride. Look at her through the curve in Lane 6. She's running the most aggressive first 100 meters in this entire field. Drive phase compact and powerful, arms punching hard, hips staying high. That is a world-class bend. She hits the top of the straight with clear daylight between her and the field. Now here comes Neita in Lane 8. Daryll Neita has serious top-end speed in the straight, and she is flying. Watch her close that gap stride by stride. Kambundji is holding her form, chin down, arms driving, not giving an inch. The gap shrinks with every step. Into the final 20 meters, they are dead level. You genuinely cannot split them with the naked eye. Watch the lean at the line. Kambundji goes for it. The Swiss vest just gets there, 1/100th of a second. That is the entire margin between gold and silver at the European Championships. Now look at Paraso coming through from lane 3. She drew that inside lane because she was only the 5th fastest qualifier, but she turned it into a bronze medal. She ran down every woman to her left across that home straight. That is a smart, gutsy piece of racing from the French woman, and a lifetime best to go with it. Back to Kambundji. Look at this overhead angle. She ran the widest possible arc through the curve to carry her speed, and it paid off completely. She came off that bend with momentum that Neita could chase but never quite catch. Kambundji at her absolute best. She blasted the bend, held her mechanics all the way to the line, and found just enough at the very end to defend her title and keep the gold in Switzerland. Mwijinga Kambundji, European champion for the second time. The Swiss flag is out, the crowd is on its feet, and that smile says everything words can't. She came here to defend, and she delivered. Back-to-back gold in the 200 meters. 1/100th of a second. In a 200 meters final, that's not a photo finish, that's a statement. Mwijinga Kambundji ran 22.49 to Daryll Neita's 22.50, and the margin tells you almost nothing about how the race actually played out. The race was decided on the bend. By the time these two hit the straight, Kambundji already had the position and the momentum. Neita closed and closed hard, but she was always chasing. Watch where Kambundji committed. Coming off the curve in lane 6, she was driving low and aggressive while others were still finding their stride. That's the bend in the 200. You don't win it there, but you can absolutely lose it there. Kambundji didn't. She came off the curve with her speed already at its ceiling, which meant Neita had to cover ground in the straight rather than simply match her. Lane 8 gives you a clear sight line down the home stretch, and Neita used every meter of it. But Kambundji's entry into the straight was too clean, too controlled. She held her mechanics all the way to the line, and when she leaned, it was enough. 1/100th, Neita's 22.50 equaled her own season's best, which means she ran exactly as well as she was capable of running. That's not a loss built on a mistake. She hit her number and still came second. That's the cruelest kind of silver medal. Neita has been one of the most consistent sprinters in Europe over the last few years, and this performance does nothing to change that. The problem is Kambundji was simply better on this night, and the margin is so thin that on a different evening, in a different wind, the result flips. Helene Paraso deserves her own mention, and not just as a footnote. She ran 22.63 from lane 3, a lifetime best for the bronze medal. Lane 3 in a 200 final is a punishing draw. The curve is tighter, you can't see the field until you're already into the straight, and the psychological pressure of not knowing where you stand costs athletes fractions they can't afford. Paraso entered as the 5th fastest qualifier at 22.73. She left with a personal best and a medal. That's not an accident, that's a runner who executed when it mattered. Behind the top 3, the gaps widen and the story changes. Henriette Jaeger of Norway ran 22.83 in 4th. She's 20 years old and the first Norwegian woman in this final in 78 years. That context matters. She's not here to fill a lane. She ran a serious time and she'll be back. Tassagia of the Netherlands came in as the 3rd fastest qualifier at 22.70 and finished 5th in 22.90. She didn't find it on the night. Julia Henriksson of Sweden, the first Swede in this final in 46 years, ran 22.91. Both women came in with stronger qualifying marks than their final times suggest, which points to a race that went out hard and punished anyone who wasn't quite right on the bend. Kambundji's personal best is 22.05. She ran 22.49 here. That gap tells you this wasn't a peak performance. She won a European Championship final by 1/100th of a second while running nearly half a second slower than she's capable of. That's a different kind of dominance. It's not about the time, it's about the competitive intelligence, the ability to run exactly as fast as the race required and no more. The defending champion came in, did what was necessary, and held on. That's a mature sprinter. For context, 22.49 is a fast time at this level. The women's 200 meters at the European Championships has produced some close finals over the years, but the depth of this field, 8 women all within half a second of each other, reflects where the event is in Europe right now. It's genuinely competitive across multiple nations, which is not something you could always say about this event on this continent. What comes next for Kambundji is the question. She's already one of the most decorated Swiss track athletes in history, and her personal best of 22.05 puts her in elite company globally. Back-to-back European titles in the 200 meters is a serious body of work. The Diamond League circuit and the Global Championships are where she'll be measured against the world's best, and that's a different conversation. But as a European champion, she's proven twice now that when it counts, she finds a way to win. That's not easy to teach, and it's not easy to stop.